What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The SMU Mustangs are up next. SMU, of course, coming off an 11-3 season last year in 2023. In their final year, of course, as a Group of 5 team in the American Athletic. Now they're heading to the ACC in 2024 as a Power 5 team, or a Power 4 team, I should say. And I think they have a chance to be pretty good. You look at this SMU team, my thoughts on them, I think they have a chance to be pretty solid and pretty decent. You look at the roster, they got plenty of playmakers, plenty of talent on this roster, guys that can really contribute in the Power 4 level and everything. And they also have a pretty, decent team. They also got their starting quarterback coming back from last year if he's fully healthy. So I think this SMU team, I think they're a top contender / dark horse contender in the ACC in 2024. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for this SMU team. And let's get to the schedule. Here is the schedule here for SMU. Again, they were 11-3 last year in their final year, of course, in the American Athletic. They won, of course, the American Athletic Championship. So again, they were 11-3 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for this SMU team for 2024. They actually have a week 0 game here in the early part of the season. They'll play Nevada here on the road on August 24th. Should be a pretty easy win here for SMU. I know that this is a road game and everything against Nevada and everything, another Group of 5 team, but SMU definitely is the better team. They're definitely the more talented team and definitely the more experienced team. I think SMU starts off with a pretty easy win. They start off 1-0 here in 2024, and then they take care of business in week number 1 against HCU here in week number 2 on August 31st, so that puts them now here at 2-0 to start out the year. And then they play on a Friday night here against BYU here on September 6th. They actually have 2 Power 4 opponents here and on their schedule here in the non-conference. They do play BYU here on September 6th, and then in a couple weeks later they play TCU out of the Big 12 here as well on September 21st. But back to this BYU game. This game will be, of course, on a Friday. BYU I don't think is going to be really terrible this year. I know a lot of people are not saying they're going to be really good this season or not really that high on them, but I think SMU playing at home, I think it's at least competitive here in the first half, but second half, SMU probably finds a way to pull away in this one. They're playing at home, and I think SMU wins this one by maybe at least by a couple touchdowns, maybe by like 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range, and they get the win here against BYU. So that puts them at 3-0, and then they get their first bye week here this season. So yeah, they get a bye week here before playing TCU here at home on September 21st. So they got back-to-back home games against 2 Power 4 non-conference opponents out of the Big 12. They play TCU here in a rematch from last year. This is a revenge game here for the Mustangs. TCU I think is going to be a lot better this year. Again, TCU wasn't that really good last season, based off of where they were last couple years ago. TCU I think will be a lot better. I think this will be a very competitive game. It's definitely more competitive in the BYU game. It definitely goes into the fourth quarter, but I've already done my prediction for this game, and I did choose SMU to win this one. I think it's a 50-50 game. It's a close one. It's a really competitive game. It really comes down to the wire. Like I said, it really comes down to a turnover, maybe also like a last-second touchdown, maybe a game-winning field goal, so you never know. SMU gets a bye week before playing this game, so they do have time to prepare for this one, but maybe they're overlooking TCU and looking ahead to the Florida State game the next week. But I think SMU playing at home, it's a 50-50 game. It's a close one. I think SMU gets revenge here on the Horned Frogs. So I got them starting out 4-0 here in the first 4 weeks here of the season. 2 games being in the month of August and then 2 games here in the month of September. And then they play Florida State here at home to open up conference play here on September 28th. First official ACC conference game here for SMU against the top team. That's probably the favorite to win the ACC this year in Florida State. I think this will be a very competitive game. SMU I think will be actually very competitive in this one. This has potential to probably be like a top 25 matchup, and also maybe even an undefeated versus undefeated matchup as well. And I've already done my prediction for this game. Florida State, I think, is still the better team here. I think even playing at home, I think, SMU will probably come up short in this one. I think it probably goes into the fourth quarter, but maybe Florida State probably pulls away by that fourth quarter, and they probably win this one by 10 points, somewhere in that range, maybe even by a touchdown, so you never know. But I'm going to go with Florida State here. I think Florida State gives SMU their first official loss here of the season, right here on September 28th at home here for SMU. So that puts them now here at 4-1 here on the season going into the month of October. And then they play on the road here at Louisville on October 5th. So they got back-to-back tough games here with Florida State and Louisville. They got to play Louisville here on the road. They're playing the top two teams here in back-to-back weeks. The two teams that made it to the ACC championship last year. You look at this Louisville team, a lot of, players coming over from the transfer portal. I think this is going to be a really good Louisville team. They do have a lot of experience coming back as well. Maybe not a lot of experience, but they added some experience in the transfer portal. Plus, playing on the road, I think it's really going to favor Louisville here just a little bit, but it will be a close game. It will be a close game no matter what. I think SMU does compete in this one till the fourth quarter, but like the Florida State game, I think it probably is a game where Louisville probably pulls away late, and they probably, win this one by maybe a touchdown, 7 points, 6 points, somewhere in that range, maybe even by 10. But I got to go with Louisville here. I think Louisville is the better team here, and definitely probably the more well-coached team as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if SMU actually won one of these two games that I have them losing to for Florida State and Louisville. I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to win one of those two games. But I got SMU losing both of those games. That drops them down to 4-2 here on the season, and then they get their second bye week here before playing Stanford here on the road on October 19th. So they had to travel out west here in this one. Going to be a really long ways to travel here with this one. It's a very tough place to play as well on the road at Stanford. However, I'm not really that high on Stanford this year. Second-year head coach for them. I don't really expect them to be all that good this year. I think it will be a tough game, though, just because they're playing out west in this one. It's a close game in the first half, but second half, I think SMU's kind of desperate for a win at this point. They're coming off back-to-back losses, so they're kind of like trying to get a redemption win here, and they get it right here. I think they beat Stanford here on the road, maybe by a couple touchdowns, so that puts them now here at 5-2 here on the season, and they get a bye week before playing Stanford, so they do have enough time to, prepare for, the trip and everything. That really does bode well for them as well, so I got SMU getting the win here, and then after that, they'll play Duke here on the road on October 26th, so they got 3 straight road games here from October 5th all the way to October 26th. So their road schedule is all in the month of October. They do play all road games here in the month of October. They'll play Louisville, Stanford, and then, of course, Duke here on the road. Just like Stanford, I don't really expect Duke to be all that good this year. First-year head coach for the Blue Devils. Of course, losing Mike Elko is definitely going to really depend on the future here for the Blue Devils. I think, Duke makes it a little bit of a scare here for the first few minutes, but I think SMU wins this one. I think they're clearly the more better team and definitely the more well-coached team as well. So I got SMU getting the win there. So that puts them now here at 6-2 on the season going into the month of November. Beginning in the month of November, here on November 2nd, they'll play Pittsburgh here at home on November 2nd. I do expect Pittsburgh to be a lot better this year. I know a lot of people are not really high on this Pittsburgh team, but this is a very consistent team and also a very consistent program when it comes to college football. I think it will be very competitive. I think Pittsburgh is probably better by this time, but I think, SMU playing at home, they're definitely the better team here in this one. And also, like I said, playing at home, that does favor them here just a little bit. And I think SMU has good momentum going into the month of November after 2 straight wins on the road and back-to-back road games, or maybe I should say 3 straight road games. They have Louisville there, but I have them losing that game, but I think they beat Stanford and Duke. But I think they get the win here against Pittsburgh. It's probably a game that, maybe they win by 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range, by a couple touchdowns. So I got SMU getting the win there. And then they get their third bye week here this season. Remember, they have like a week 0 game, so that's why they got 3 bye weeks there on the schedule and everything. But they got Boston College here next on November 16th. I think this is going to be a pretty good Boston College team. This is a Boston College team that you don't want to play here in the month of November and everything, but I think, SMU playing at home, I think that does favor them in this one. I think it's kind of similar to the Pittsburgh game. It's a game that probably can go either way, but I'm going to go with SMU here. I think they're definitely the better team, and I think SMU gets 4 wins in a row here, so that puts their record now here at 8-2 here on the season. And then after that, they play Virginia here on the road on November 23rd. I think Virginia's future is looking pretty bright. They do have their second-year head coach and everything. I know they're probably not going to be the most talented team in the country and definitely not the most consistent team in the country, but this Virginia team looks like they're heading in the right direction. They do have a lot of experience coming back, and also this is kind of one of those upset alert type games here in the month of November where SMU is probably ranked in the top 15, maybe even also top 10. They don't have a really hard schedule and everything. They don't really have like a resume good enough to probably be in the top 10, but either way, I think they'll be in the top 15 by this point. Virginia, though, I think is capable of pulling off an upset here in this one, and I've already done my pick for this game from last week, and I did choose Virginia to win this game. I think Virginia pulls off the upset. I think they give SMU their 3rd loss here this season. Again, it's just one of those tough games to call. I was kind of back and forth on this game as well, so I'm going to go with Virginia here to get the win. So that puts SMU now here at 8-3 here on the season. Going into the final game here of the season, they'll play California here on November 30th. Another newcomer here, of course, coming up in the ACC. I don't think Cal's going to be all that terrible this year, but playing at home, SMU is kind of desperate for a win here after the loss to Virginia from last week. I think they'll definitely redeem themselves. They'll probably start off slow. They're probably not over that loss yet, but they'll probably start off slow, but then they'll keep it up in the second quarter, and they probably pull away, all those final 3 quarters. So I think SMU gets the win here over California here on November 30th in the final game of the regular season. So I got SMU finishing with a record of 9-3 here for 2024. You look at the schedule, it's not that horrible. That's the reason why I got them winning 9 games in their first year as a Power 4 team, and also their first year in the ACC. Now, it wouldn't really shock me if they were able to go 10-2 if they can at least beat Virginia. But what if they either beat Louisville or Florida State? This team could probably go 11-1 and probably make the ACC championship. It wouldn't really shock me. Again, this team is full of, playmakers, at the Power 4 level, and they also have a really bright future here in this conference. So, and this is a conference that doesn't really have like a really powerhouse program. I think this conference is going to be really wide open. I think a lot of these teams are going to really battle for that ACC championship spot, and also for that 4th place spot in the college football playoff as well. Maybe the 3rd place spot, you never know how the resume is going to go, but I got SMU finishing with a record of 9-3. That's my prediction here for the SMU Mustangs heading into their first year as a Power 4 team, and also heading into their first year in the ACC in 2024. So let me guys know what you think about this SMU team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.